welcome to our guest expert session today on the critical topic of mindful leadership and how this impacts the second pillar of human leadership, our capacity to lead others. Multiple vectors affect our global society: COVID-19, the climate crisis, systemic racism and inequalities, the mental health crisis, and more. Leaders and changemakers need powerful tools and frameworks to reinvigorate their individual and organisational purpose. Tools and frameworks which enable us to lead others through these challenging times and to create the change we so urgently need to see in business and beyond. This is a defining moment that requires leaders to have equanimity, to be grounded and calm, and at the same time empathize with others and energize others through their presence and their actions to create collective action and change together. Today, we welcome Mandar Apte to guide us through this interactive and experiential session. Mandar will share tools to manage our mental well-being and resilience and inspire us to reimagine our purpose and make a greater net positive impact on our world. A little about Mandar. Mandar is a foremost scholar at George Mason University and for many years managed Shell's prestigious GameChanger social innovation program, investing in ideas that create shared value, business value, and social impact. For nearly 2 decades, Mandar has taught leadership programs using meditation practices for the International Association for Human Values. Mandar won the inaugural League of Intrapreneurs Award for his work to facilitate an innovative learning program using meditation practice at Shell, which reached over 2,000 colleagues. Mandar currently manages the Cities for Peace initiative that actively promotes peace and nonviolence in cities worldwide. It's such a powerful, powerful framework. We are delighted to welcome you to Human Leaders today. Thank you so much, Mandar.
Thank you. Can you make me a host so I can share my screen? Thank you. Thank you. You can see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. I will just present for some time and then see how we can modify this with. So this is what you mentioned, right? This is all the stuff that we are all dealing with, and there is much more than this. This is just on top of our mind, but refugee crisis, depression in America, school shootings. Yesterday I was speaking with somebody from Melbourne, the drug crisis in Australia with the youth, and the inequalities between communities based on finance and many other topics. So usually when we are looking at solving problems, especially people on this group who are engineers like me, we are told to solve problems to get results. So that's the reason we are solving problems, is to get results. So if you back out from the results, like if you're not getting the results, then you need to look at the processes that you're using and tweak around, and people do brainstorming around, hey, what else can we do? So we look at the how do we do certain things, the process. But more importantly, and what is often a blind spot, is we don't address the who is solving the problem, who is involved in the team. We don't look into that aspect of achieving the results or looking into the processes. We take certain things for granted, right? And that is where is a missing link. It's a blind spot, that the inner space that an individual works and operates from is equally important, not just their technical knowledge and their know-how. This is often referred to as the soft skill, which it's not a soft skill at all. because we are wired in certain different ways, and the way I am wired may not be the way Alexis is wired. So we need to look at we need to deeper look at who the hell we are, right? And are we always smiling? The answer is no, we are not always smiling. Depends on the situation that we are going through. So does it mean that when we are smiling, there are no situations in our life? That's also not true. You may have a colleague, a team member who is smiling, but in the backdrop in their personal life, maybe a kid with autism, maybe a divorce, maybe turbulence in their own family life. And the reverse is also true. I was just speaking to somebody. They are having a tough time at work, very tough with the boss, micromanagement from the boss. How can it not affect the role when you go back in your personal life as a mother? So as a mother, you may be smiling, but in the backdrop is tension, is turbulence in the work life. So I think this is what this session is about, is taking a look inward and defining or redefining what does it mean to lead with peace, for which we need to define what the hell is peace. So definitely these two pictures we have all experienced, especially during the pandemic. We thought that life is going to get easier. Hey, no travel, no need to go to work. But actually, we did so many things and realized that work from home doesn't mean not doing work. It means learning some new capacity to handle the situation. Some of us lost it. Some of us thrived in this type of chaos. So this slide is just sharing the fact that the number of activities in our life is not going to go down. Especially the more busy the more busy we are, the more committed we are, the more compassionate we are going to take on more, just because of our nature as a human being, right? So this group of human leaders, because the humanity is invoked, you will be taking on more. Other people's problems will become your problems. Social problems will become your problems. The world's problems will become your problems, right? That's the nature of a human leader. So that is where we need to build our inner capacity, because like we shared in the beginning, your inner life is the outer life manifestation. So the outer life, it could be the same situation, it could be a good or a bad situation, but if your mind is messed up, if your mind is not at harmony, at peace, even the best of situations, you will be struggling, the person will be struggling. So I saw this quote by the Ganges River a few years ago when I was walking, and I found it so meaningful. Like, I may be walking in a beautiful garden, rose garden, but if my mind is stuck with some negative issue, I'm not even looking at the roses. I'm not even appreciating the sunset. So that is where, as a leader, we have to learn how to manage our mind. Otherwise, we become a victim, a slave of the negative emotions in our mind. So these are the 7 levels of existence. When you look inward, when you start looking at self-development. So most people know the body layer. So most people in the human leaders group, I'm assuming, is exposed to yoga classes. And so in America, where I have lived, people go to yoga classes as a physical exercise, upward dog, downward dog, upward dog, downward dog. And they think that is yoga. So they are doing some kind of a body exercise, and at the end, the teacher is guiding them through some shavasana, some silence, and then they pick up their yoga mat and they say, yoga class was so good, right? But that life needs to then integrate with the life outside the yoga class, outside the yoga mat. And that is where we have to look at these 7 levels. The body is just one gross level that you can touch, you can feel. The other layers, you can only feel them. So second layer is our breath. We take it for granted, right? We say good morning, good evening, good night, see you tomorrow. but our breath is the source of our life. How much time do we give ourselves in the whole day to attend to our breath? Not a lot. Zero, I would say, right? So this is an aspect of our life. We don't pay attention to our breath. We don't honor our breath. We don't respect our breath. We take it for granted. But this breath has a number of secrets. One secret is that it is connected with all the other layers. For example, the third layer is our mind. And again, we have not seen the mind, but we can understand it. It has emotions, it has feelings, it has thoughts. So if you observe your mind, you will notice that usually the mind is busy about what has happened in the past, or it is worried and anxious about what will happen in the future. Very rarely, there are moments where our mind is in the present moment. Very rarely. So how is the breath linked with our mind? That every emotion in the mind is associated with a breathing pattern. So for example, when your mind is thinking about the past, somebody blamed you, somebody made you angry, made you feel guilty, all these emotions like anger, sadness, guilt, you will notice that it is associated with a breathing pattern of its own. So that is where the breath is linked, is the link between the body and the mind. The same is true with the fourth layer, the intellect layer, where I'm speaking to you something. If your mind is not here and now, no matter how smart you are, your intellect will not understand what I'm speaking. So the intellect is helping us to make choices in life. It's a good choice, not so good choice. Intellect is agreeing with what I'm saying to you, or it is disagreeing to what I'm saying. You may say, no, Mandar is wrong. There are 9 levels, 7 levels is wrong. So this faculty that is judging, that is analyzing, that is agreeing, is our intellect. The next level is our memory. Sometimes we remember good things, sometimes we forget. So if you look at the memory layer, very interesting. It will retain negative things more than it retains positive things. So for example, you may have had a friend, very good friend, but nowadays no longer friends. So if you analyze this, what has happened is either you or that friend has chosen to remember 1 or 2 not so good incidents, and you both have forgotten the hundreds of good things that you may have done with each other. So that is just the flavor of memory, that it retains negative things more than positive things. Next level is our ego, the I factor. We say I factor. And then the innermost layer is the self, or the witness. So why is this important for leading with peace, which is the topic we are talking about? So peace is not just absence of war, and peace is at 4 levels. The inner faculties, I would call it. At the level of the mind, we may have negative emotions. Definitely not peaceful, right? So it is a personal choice for that person, for that individual to say, okay, I get angry, I get sad, I get upset. I need to work on myself. I need to learn how I can transform to lead with calm and happiness and centeredness. So this is a personal journey. You have to walk it on your own. Nobody can do it for you. The same level of stress or lack of peace can be at the level of the intellect. So some of us are judgmental, maybe over judgmental. Some of us are having so many biases, inhibitions. That is because your intellect is stressed out. Intellect is not peaceful. So these people are out there, they're judging, constantly judging. This journey is also individual journey. You have to be aware of this judgmental aspect of you. And you have to say, okay, I now need to learn how to be non-judgmental, because only when I'm non-judgmental, I can accommodate imperfections. Otherwise, every time somebody makes a mistake. The third level is the level of memory. So as a leader, why do you need to work on this? Because if you are trying something new, if you remember failures, then you become risk averse. So if you want to be a future leader, solving problems, being innovative, you need to learn how to encourage yourself and other people to take risk. At the same time, learning from the past. So this is a very important aspect of your own leadership development, to working on your own memory, like looking at your memory slate and choosing, hey, why am I remembering all my failures? I have had so many good things. I've forgotten them. This becomes evident when you go for your end of the year reviews, right? When you go for your end of the year review, you go there with so much confidence that, oh, look, boss, I've done so many good things. But what does the boss remember? The boss remembers one or two things, silly things that you have done, mistakes that you have done, which you have forgotten, but the boss has not forgotten. Yeah? The last level, the inner faculty, is your ego. And we know the danger of having a high ego in today's world. You cannot be arrogant. You cannot be in the, I know it all, other people are idiots. Nobody will want to work with such a person. The same is true with the other side of that ego, is telling yourself, I'm not good enough, I always fail at whatever I do. So such a person, again, you will not want on your team. You want somebody who is humble. You want somebody who is mutually respecting, right? So this again is a personal journey. Certain negative aspects of these 4 levels, you have to learn how to drop them and move on to the right hand side. And that requires you to have tools and frameworks. So that is what I will introduce you to. Some of the frameworks that I have used is that peace, that inner peace, we need to cultivate it, right? And it's like a daily habit. It's like dental hygiene. We brush our teeth every day. Similar to that, we have to find that mental peace every day. You have to find it, cultivate it, and just like we breathe, use the same analogy.
Can I just ask a question, Mandar? I'm curious about, so you spoke about this journey that we can go on in these different levels. Is it, and you might be coming to this, but I'm curious whether it's the sort of the self-witness level that facilitates or sort of conducts that journey in these other different levels. How does that interplay? Yeah, no, I will talk about the self later. The journey is very simple, actually. The journey is that situations in our life that keep changing, they bring emotions that are also changing. Usually the negative emotions, they get stuck to us more than the positive emotions. And we become a victim of the negative emotion. So that is the first aspect of a good leader, is to realize what are the situations, the triggers that provoke negative emotions in me. And the second aspect of a good leader is to manage those negative emotions, right? Because a negative emotion, if you don't manage it, will lead you to become violent. Either you will say bad things about yourself, or you will hurt and say bad things about other people. So that is where you can make use of this science, that every emotion in your mind has a corresponding breathing pattern. So when you are angry, the breath is fast, shallow. When you are feeling sad, low, the exhale is longer. When you are anxious, you're worried about something, your breath will be like a rapid and short. But when you are happy, when we are happy, how will the breath be? This may be a good exercise for you now. Just take a deep breath and notice a smile shows up on your face, right? So that is how we breathe when we are really happy. When you go to the ocean, enjoy the sunset, look at the mountains,
right? So this is a universal science that emotions have their own breathing patterns. So using breath, we can manage our emotions. And when we work on one of the layers, which is for now, let's go back to the 4 layers. The breath is the link between the body and the mind and the intellect and the memory and the ego and the self. So when you are using the breath, you don't need to worry about, hey, am I working on my intellect? Am I working on my memory or not? No, it will work on a subtle level on all these 4 inner faculties. Yeah. So as you keep doing pranayama, breathing exercises, meditation practice on a regular basis, you will realize that you will be less stressed than other people. You will become more open-minded. Yeah. Open-minded means you're not judgmental of everything. You will see that, hey, I don't remember what happened yesterday. That's good, because then you are fresh like a flower, right? And you will see that innocence is the opposite of arrogance. So all this will naturally happen. You don't have to take a journal and write. You just need to trust the technology of the breath practices, meditation practices. So let me just take a pause. Let me go to the screen and see if Pauline has any question for me.
Thanks so much, Mandar. We don't have questions right now. This is really great, and we were loving following along.
Okay, great. Thank you. I will then address the question that Sally asked about the self. So let's assume that you are on a busy street. Okay, you are standing on a busy street and you are seeing the traffic moving on the street. What is the prerequisite for you to say, yes, traffic is moving, I see it? What is the prerequisite?
Connection with senses, sensory experience.
Of course, without it, you will be dreaming, right? So you are awake, you are alert, your eyes are open, you're seeing things. It's a prerequisite, yes. What else? Is there anything else? Is there any other prerequisite for you to say, yes, traffic is moving?
Is it, so in the chat, someone's mentioned understanding where you are in the context of what's happening.
Alexis said that. I don't know what it means. Seeing it, we already answered. Yes, your eyes are open, you're seeing it. That's a prerequisite.
Perhaps it's also these like human labels that we have to understand what traffic is, and that a bunch of cars, we call that traffic. So that's kind of a prerequisite to be able to have that awareness.
Yeah, of course, know what traffic is. Okay, so let's assume that it's not a woolly question, right? It's a real question. So we assume traffic is out there and moving. We know what the traffic is. So I am witnessing the traffic. Yes, that's the correct answer. The correct answer is that you need a reference point that is not moving with respect to the traffic. Only then you can say that traffic is moving. So what does it mean? To detect any change, you need a reference point that is stationary with respect to the change. If 2 cars are moving at the same speed and you look out of the car, you will say that no, nothing's moving. So for you to detect change, you need a reference point that is stationary relative to the change. Yeah. So this is Einstein 101, physics 101. If this is clear to you, have you observed your body has changed? Yes. I was a baby. Look how big I am. Have you observed your mind has different thoughts? They change. Yes. Have you observed your feelings change? Yes. So my question is, how do you know this? You know this only because there is a reference point, a stationary thing with you that is not changing with respect to the change, only then you can say, yes, my thoughts change, my feelings change, my body has changed. This is called as the self. So you can even call it witness, you can call it God, you can call it being, Star Wars freaks, we can call it the force, right? So all these words refer to the same thing, something that doesn't change, something that doesn't change, and it is always there, it is always on. That is called the self. So you may have read books about self-realization. So now you don't need to read the book, you know what it means, realizing the self, right? Realizing means experiencing. Yeah, when you eat apple pie, you have experienced, oh, what is apple pie? Wow. When you tasted ice cream, you know what ice cream is, right? You have realized the amazing experience of ice cream. So self-realization means realizing, experiencing. What are you experiencing? I am not the body. I have a body, but I am not the body. I am not the mind. Yes, I have a mind. I have thoughts. I have emotions, but I'm not them. Yes, I have an intellect, but I'm not my intellect. Yes, I have memories, past memories, good memories, bad memories, but I'm not the memories. I'm not even the I. Somebody said, I am the witness. The I, I'm not even the I. I'm the witness to the I. Yeah, even more subtle than the I.
Thanks, Mandar. That's clear. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So that is where, if you learn how to, on a daily basis, check out of body, check out of breath, mind, intellect, memory, ego, the destination is the self. So once you go to the destination, you only rest there. It's like, going home. Why do you go home every day? So that you can rest, be yourself. Right? So that is the power of a meditation practice, is to give you an experience of this still witness space. Once you go home and rest and have a good night's sleep, only then you can feel, let me go to work now. I feel good, right? Let me change the world. So that is the power of teaching leaders meditation practice, is that they can be more dynamic in their activity, more dynamic in their actions. Any other question?
Not at the moment. I think, Mandar, let's continue.
Yeah, Alexis mentioned what is my experience also. Often we get stuck in the I. Yeah. So even as meditators, we may get stuck in the, I meditate for 20 years. I've never missed a single day. Look at me. Right. So you may have that experience also if you are into yoga practice for a number of years. Getting stuck with anything is a block. Yeah. Whereas when you are childlike, when you are innocent, then you have more access to that force. Okay, great. Let me move to the second aspect of my subject, is purpose. And most people, at least in the US, are on this purpose wash these days. They are, we need to do purpose. What's my purpose? What's my purpose? But purpose is not a destination. Purpose is a journey. Because let's say when I was a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and people asked you, what do you want to become? My answer would have been a train driver. I want to drive a train, right? Or I would like to be an ice cream vendor. I can have ice cream all the time, right? So just like our purpose is evolving, why should we put a block on what should be my purpose be? It's a journey, you discover it. Yeah, so we have to periodically ask ourselves, what else can be my purpose? Okay, I'm doing my job at Accenture. That's great. It's giving me a paycheck. But is that my purpose? Okay, what else can I do? I have a job at Accenture. Using that job, one foot in Accenture. What else I can do? Periodically, if we ask this, and if you meditate, I tell you, the role of meditation is so important, because that purpose answer will come from your gut. And the gut will only speak when you are quiet. And then there is no confusion in what you should do. Yeah. So every step, every 3, 4, 6 months, this question everybody needs to ask today, because we are at a crossroad. We have just gone through a pandemic. We have lost trust in our politicians worldwide. We have lost trust in the media. You don't know what to believe in. So the only hope is the individual and the leader and the change maker and the business, because the bottom line, correct? So we need to ask ourselves, what else can I do? I asked this to myself while I was at Shell. I had become a meditation teacher in 2004. And I thought of myself as, hey, let me bring meditation at work. So in 2010, I created a program. And of course, nobody can create a program if your boss is not supporting you. So of course, I got my boss to like it also. And then I brought this program at Shell. I taught about 2,000 people how to meditate in 2012. That was 10 years ago. So if I can do this, anybody can do it. If I can do this at Shell, you can absolutely do it in a forward-thinking workplace. I met with my CEO 10 years ago. This was a photo from then. And I presented to my CEO this 2x2 matrix. I was part of GameChanger at that time. I was investing in technologies, energy technologies. Every investment had to have a benefit, dollar benefit for Shell. So I just presented to my CEO that, hey, this box wasn't there. We should create this box. We should create this fund. And it is not a corporate social responsibility fund. So in this box, money goes out, social investments are made. Nothing is expected to come back because everything is indirect value. So what I told my CEO is there can be projects that can create both social impact and business value, both. And of course, he asked me for some examples. I gave him some examples. I will share a few of them here. But this was my way of discovering my purpose at Shell. I had completed 10 years at Shell. So I stayed on for another 6 years because I had this mandate. So if some of you who are watching this would like to get some help to create something like this at your workplace, I can be your bad cop. I can create the stir in your organization that, hey, we did it. Why don't you do it? This is one of the examples. I'll give you this example. So this is an example of an investment that I made using my fund, the job that I had created. So these are called truck stops, right? So in Australia also, I have traveled in and around Perth. So when you leave the bigger city, you go in this middle of nowhere space, and usually fuel retailers are there. They are called truck stops. So they are the most valuable customer for a fuel retailer. So behind the truck stop, you will find a food court, you will find shower facilities, beds. So what we did was we partnered with a US drug and pharmaceutical store company called CVS Pharmacy. And we thought about putting their minute clinics that provide access to healthcare, primary healthcare, and combine it with a telemedicine service so that you can employ a nurse, and through telemedicine, you can provide the best healthcare service to your customer, which is the truck driver. So this creates a win-win because the drugstore, they are getting a new line of customers, right? Truck drivers. The telemedicine shop is going to get new customers, which are the local people that don't need to go to the bigger city for their healthcare. So suddenly what happens is you are going to socialize your business. Shell is no longer a petrol stop. It is providing last mile delivery of healthcare. So this is an example of doing well while you do good. But all this is dreams, castles in the air, unless you prove a business model. So the person who helped me create the business model was an admin. Her husband used to be a truck driver. So she knew the problem. She knew that healthcare is missing for these stakeholders, the truck drivers. And so what we found is that insurance company of the truck driver can pay CVS pharmacy, can pay for the healthcare. And then the money wheel spins, right? So somebody is paying, they're getting value, they're getting new customers. Telemedicine company is getting local customers. Local population is getting healthcare. So this is an example of an ecosystem win-win that is a social idea, but it is not philanthropy. It's creating value for the company. Somebody has to prove it. That was the nature of my job. So purpose, just like I said, must be an intense inner feeling. It has to be a calling, maybe a drive force. And think of it as a journey, right? And in a journey, value of taking a pit stop, because even if your car is full of gasoline, you cannot go on a long drive. You have to plan a pit stop. You have to plan a timeout, right? You have to refuel the car. You have to refuel yourself. So think of your own life purpose as similar journey, right? And that is where coming to groups like the Human Leaders Group is one of those pit stops. You are taking that pit stop. You are coming here to rejuvenate your mojo. Finally, I'll end by saying that I'm out of Shell now. I'm no longer at Shell. I'm a filmmaker, so I produced a documentary film. The film is now part of an educational module called Be the Change. So this module promotes peace in schools. So we have written a school curriculum that people can use in their own child's school if you want. The second thing I've started is a consultancy, so management consultancy for peace. For example, in Los Angeles, where I used to live, the cost of one murder is about $1 million. Staggering amount, yeah. So the business case is, if you promote peace, you can save this money. So this consulting work, once you do in Los Angeles, it becomes street cred for you. Other police departments start inviting you. So we have done workshops all over the world. So maybe some of you are interested in peace work in your own city. This is my purpose and mission and goal in life these days is, can I bring peace and make money? So can peace be profitable? Can that be a way to counter the violence, industry of violence? Whether you take drug trafficking, human trafficking, all these are industries, they are businesses. Can you counter it by actively promoting peace and, of course, making money? I'll end my presentation by saying, because you are part of Alexis's network, Sally's network, and a network called Human Leaders, you have chosen to go in the journey where nobody else is going. So if you feel lonely, it's not a bad thing. It's great. All you need to do is find one more person to say, keep going. And you need to learn how to meditate, because that is the way you boot up your hard drive, yeah, your system. So if you're interested, I can share the Be the Change module with Sally and Alexis. There are some guided breath and meditation practices in that module itself. You can do it at your home. Don't think your life is Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Family is equally important. So you can do the module with your own children. Start a new habit. Meditate every day with daddy and mommy. It's a great habit to bring. Thank you again, Alexis, for hosting me. I'm leaving you with these words that we are all gone. At some point of time, we will all be gone. So let's do work that makes us proud, that leaves a trace of love and peace when we leave.
Beautiful words to finish with, Mandar. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your wisdom.